Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journey, encourage folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories. Hello and welcome to Masoni and Marshall, the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journeys of food entrepreneurs. We're glad you've joined us today as we bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce. Sarah Masoni is out today. She actually has COVID, and so I wanted to use this as an opportunity to remind everyone to practice good self-care and take care of yourself if you're feeling sick or not well, or even if not, if you just need to take some time to yourself. You know, I used to be an ex-social worker, so I spend a lot of my time waxing poetic about self-care. I have to remind myself to do it all of the time. You can hear one of my presentations I did on the Farmers Market Pro podcast. It's called Tent Talk. It's episode 114. So if you want to listen to my talk about self-care for business owners, you can hear that there. But I just want to say good job, Sarah, for staying home. I know she wanted to be on this podcast today. I know she was going to, but she, really made the right decision and decided to not do that. So good job, Sarah. We have been partnering with the Regional Food Business Center to bring you guests from the 6-state region. We're currently meeting with business owners from the great state of Montana, and we would like to encourage you to connect with your state by signing up for the Regional Food Business Center newsletter. It's a breeze to sign up. You just go to Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center.com, hit connect with us, and choose the button to receive newsletters. And we want to thank our sponsor for supporting Masoni and Marshall. Thank you for helping us spread the word about small business owners and entrepreneurs. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. The Northwest and Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center is the proud sponsor of the Meaningful Marketplace podcast, giving a voice to food from across the 6-state region of Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. The Food Business Center supports Northwest and Rocky Mountain food industry makers as part of the USDA's National Network of Food Business Centers, supporting a more resilient, diverse, and competitive food system as a go-to source for small and mid-tier food and farm businesses with a focus on underserved communities, providing education in the form of technical knowledge, business programs, and industry news. We sponsor trade shows, meetups, and conferences to connect growers, producers, retailers, distributors, and processors, all to stimulate business and raise the standards of our storied food industry. Join us as we travel through the 6-state region, learning more about food makers, food hubs, and food systems. Visit the website at Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Businesses.com to get connected. And I would like to introduce you to our guest today. I am with Crystal Manuel, founder of Gruff Grains and co-owner of Cream of the West, making ancient grain grits in Harlowtown, Montana. We're delighted to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
We always like to connect our listeners to you and to give them the best way to follow you and your story. Can you let people know where to find you on social media and online?
Yes, our website is Gruff, Gruff, gruffgrains.com. And it's also the same on Instagram, Gruff Grains.
Perfect.
All one. Yeah.
We'll make sure that people can link up when they listen to this podcast and post about it on our social media as well. Let's start at the beginning. When did you start your business and what inspired you to start Gruff Grains?
Well, the business is a couple of years old now. We did our first boxing on March 17th in, I guess it was a year in 2022. So we have been an inspired idea for a really long time. And so it's really cool to kind of see the whole thing come to fruition. But as far as the actual making of the product goes, what's interesting about it is, and what makes it unique, is that we have a farm and ranch in a location known as the Golden Triangle in north central Montana. And a way to think about that is the Golden Triangle is to Montana what Napa Valley is to California. So it's an area known for growing really high quality, high protein, nutrient rich grains. And our ranch has been certified organic since 2007. And when we decided to do this food project with Gruff, we decided that it would make the most sense to go next level so that we could really have the conversation we wanted to be having with consumers in terms of whole food wellness and there being a correlation between soil nutrition or soil health and fertility and the overall product that was produced out of it as being the most nutrient dense that it could possibly be. And so in order to inspire that conversation further, we also gained prior to the planting of the grains that we now package our regenerative organic certification. And so as far as food products go and certifications go, what we're putting into a box today really can't be too much more certified in the food world as far as purity and food claims go. So it's a regenerative organic ancient grain grit made from farro, is what our flagship product was. And we've got a couple new SKUs coming out this fall and more ideas than we could probably ever get into a package, actually. So we're excited for the things that we'll be rolling out this next year. The other thing that makes our boxes unique is that every box will always be traceable to the field where it was grown. And as we begin to source from other farmers, we're super excited about that because we know the work and intention it takes to grow grains under the practices of regenerative organic because it's difficult, but it's worthy. And so there are a lot of really inspirational people who care a whole lot about what they do and why they do it. And their bottom line is never profit, it's always people. And so we want to give them the opportunity to be recognized as well as we further our sourcing for the work that they're doing, because they've all got such interesting stories and interesting reasons for doing it.
And you are the co-owner of this company and these products. Who are you in business with?
So I am in business with, I'm the founder of Gruff, and then we have my husband is a partner and my best friend, Brie Lamoya, who lives unfortunately way too far away in Florida. And so collectively, the three of us have kind of brought this concept forward.
That's really fun that you get to be in business with the people that you love the most.
Yeah, it is. It's a blessing.
That's so nice. And so tell me about where you are in Montana. So you said it is called the Golden Triangle. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, we're kind of at the northern tip of what would be the Golden Triangle region in Montana. Our ranch is located in the foothills of the Bear Paw Mountains, which is a beautiful location. Our hometown is called Havre, and we are about 40 miles south of the Canadian border.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
you're up there.
We're way north. Yeah, and pretty much in the middle of the top line of the state. So
yeah.
So geographically.
Cool. We've been talking to people all around the state of Montana, and just in people describing where they are in the state makes me realize how big it is.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very big. When we decided to launch Gruff and had this idea for doing so, I knew that we were going to need a co-packer. And I had met a wonderful woman named Alicia Moe some years back, and we had talked about ideas and things over the years that I was having because she owned a company called Cream of the West. Cream of the West is interesting because it is actually Montana's oldest food company. So its origins date back to 1914. And it was kind of started by a collective of farmers. I mean, its story began in a farmhouse kitchen where she made a bowl of hot cereal for a farm implement dealer. And he loved it and told her she should market it. And it kind of blossomed since then. So it's been around for a long while, but it's ran out of Harlowton, Montana, which is actually about 3.5 hours south of where we live in Havre. And so I called her one day and asked her if she would be interested in hearing about an idea that I had, and that ultimately what I was looking for was a co-packer. And so we made time and I got to tell her the story and the vision, and she was super supportive, really loved it, and agreed to co-pack. And so we kind of began our journey toward the idea of actually bringing it to fruition. And partway through that process, she gave us a call one day and said that they had actually decided to sell their company, and they were going to try to orchestrate, the co-packing of our product into whatever deal that they were going to be making in the future. But ultimately, what she wanted to talk about was she really felt like we should purchase the company.
Oh, wow.
Which was way outside the realm of, basic startup, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that's what happened. We ended up buying Cream of the West by the time we had more conversations about it. So yeah, logistically, we're kind of a 4-hour drive in Montana is really nothing. And that's what it takes to run back and forth to the plant, on the days when we need to do so. So that's kind of, we grow it here up in Havre, but it's packaged in Harlowton.
Oh, that's so cool. So you bought the co-packing facility. It's 3 hours away. And does that mean now you're a double business owner and you help other businesses as well?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, more or less.
That's
We
a lot to
now,
tackle.
it really is. We've been swimming in the deep end for a couple of years because we've just been farmers and ranchers, and I've been a homeschool mom, and we have a very entrepreneurial, mindset, and I come from a very entrepreneurial family, so there's aspects of it that were very familiar to me. But all of a sudden, when you own an active business and you've got employees that are that you're instantly responsible for, and they know more than you do, you become very you become very close very quickly in order to make the whole thing work. And so we were really blessed with a terrific team of people that came with that company. It's very small, but the people there are very, very dedicated, and they've been there for a really long time. And so they've been able to walk us through some things as we've begun to grow and learn. And our dream vision is to take the company next level, because the quality of product that we produce there is fairly superior, in our opinion, to most of what's available in its category at the average grocery store. And it really it deserves to be celebrated, and it needs to be out there, because collectively with both companies, as owners, we really view food as medicine. We
Mm-hmm.
believe it to be essential to nourishment and paramount to health, really, the food choices that people make. And so we're excited about what we're doing and about bringing more of it forward.
So if we have some listeners that are either growing grain or wanting to manufacture some kind of organic grain product, are you accepting new clients in the co-packing facility?
We are. We do have at this point some time, and we do some co-packing for some other companies, but we would definitely be interested in entertaining more offers or more opportunities, especially for the right companies. We do have the regenerative certification there, so we've got everything in place to package regenerative products, as well as certified organic products, and so that is a plus for companies at that level.
If people want to do that or are interested in asking questions, do they go to the Cream of the West website, or do they contact you through Gruff Grains?
For that specific question, it would probably be best to contact myself through Gruff Grains.
Cool. So just if anybody has any questions or you're interested
Hmm.
in knowing, you can go ahead and reach out to Crystal through Gruff Grains on her website. Well, I know this is going to seem like a basic question for you, but people might not know what, ancient grains or specifically grits ancient grains are. Can you describe your product so that people understand more what it is?
Sure. Well, grains is a category that we know a fair amount about, and there's lots of ways to talk about it. So we'll start with your specific question. Ancient grains differ from conventional grains in the sense that they've been around for literally thousands of years. So farro, the grain that we use, sometimes also referred to as emmer, but they're essentially the same, is actually a biblical grain. And it is different than conventional in the sense that it has never been hybridized. So that's the main difference. Ancient grains have not been hybridized to increase yields or to change production or any of the authentic characteristics of the grain in any way. So no hybridization. As a result of that, the body naturally has the ability to digest it more efficiently because by nature it's just kind of perfect. We've not tweaked it in any way, and so it's still just kind of perfect. It has a higher protein content than other grains, and it's just by far more easily digestible, which is one of the main reasons why we really love it. We have had a number of testimonies of people who have tried our product and they had been gluten sensitive for years. We've actually had some people that heard us talk about ancient grain characteristics the way that I just did and decide to try it for the first time, and with hesitancy because they're not used to being able to digest it, and found out that they could. Well, the one testimony, and she's become a good friend of ours, is not only can I have it, and I do well with it, but I feel so nourished, and like I've been missing something essential to my diet for a really long time, is having to avoid grains. But she just didn't know that ancient grains had this ability. And so there have been several others like her as well.
What a fun way to interact with your customer, because you're showing them something new and giving them something that makes them feel so much better. I love that.
Yeah, it has been one of the best parts about working with this particular grain. And then as far as grits, well, this is where we get innovative. Normally, ancient grains present themselves in the marketplace in two ways. Either, well, three ways really. Either as a whole berry, which takes about 45 minutes to an hour to cook in that form. As a flour, which pretty much then you need to be baking something with, or sometimes as an add-in ingredient in in granola or a breakfast cereal or something like that. What we wanted to do was bring ancient grains into the marketplace in a consumer-friendly, easy to cook way that had palatability for a broader audience, because whole berry is delicious. But in all the years, I have 6 kids. Bree has 5 kids. We used to do family dinners all the time, so we've got a lot of experience cooking for lots of kids and their friends and everybody that came with it. So what we discovered is they like the palatability or the mouthfeel of a grit better than a whole berry. As moms, we liked it because all of a sudden we can cook an ancient grain in 12 minutes instead of 45. We can play with the water ratio with our grits, and we can go from a creamy consistency that you could think about sweet, like a creamy porridge for a hot cereal, or you could do cheese and cream and herbs and things like that and maybe have a risotto, so you can go savory with it as well. Or you can back off the water ratio and you can end up with a texture that is similar to rice or couscous, so more granular. And now we've got an amazing base for a grain bowl or a stir fry. So it's a more nutrient-rich substitute for oats and rice. But a lot of people are specifically also looking for ancient grains these days in the marketplace, and so we answer their call too.
Well, and we always love to talk about, innovation and bringing new things to market. So Gruff Grains was really one of the first companies to bring ancient grain grits to market, right?
I think we are the very first company. Yeah, when we Google search ancient grain grits, we're the only thing that we can find. And not that people haven't cracked, ancient grains into different things in the past, but we're playing with the word grit. First of all, it's fun because my best friend Bree, who is our business partner, is actually from Arkansas. So she's from the South, and so she knows all about grits. I will say she was a little bit leery when I told her we needed to call it grits. But by definition, the word grit actually came from the word grist. So it was first grist, and that word came from the mill. So grist milling is when you coarse crack any kind of grain into a grit. And
Ah.
in other countries for a long while, it's been native grains, which all ancient grains are fairly native to the European areas. But when we began in North America, when settlers came over, These grains were not grown here. What was grown here was corn by the Native Americans, and that's what they showed them how to grow. And that is why in our country, grits are known more as corn than as an ancient grain. That is just initially what they began cracking and what everyone was kind of eating. But the word grit technically comes from the concept of a coarse crack grain through a grist mill. And then they just kind of dropped the S and turned it into grits, and that's what most people are eating today.
I love that. Thanks for the knowledge. I never would have known. I was wondering what made your grains cook so fast, and it's really just the grinding, the
It
doing.
is, yeah. We're just cracking the whole berry down, but we're not losing anything in terms of the essential elements of the whole grain because it's a coarse crack.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not separating out any of the bran or any of the wheat germ or anything like that that would naturally be present. So the nutrition density stays right where it's supposed
You're
to.
keeping all that good stuff in there.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to hear about why foodies love Gruff grits.
Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard. By providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together.
And we're back from our break, and I would love to know why people are so into Gruff grits and what they're making with it.
What they're loving, first and foremost, are some of the things that we mentioned a moment ago. So they love that they can cook it in 12 minutes. They love that they can play with the texture of it, going from granular to a creamier texture. But where it gets really crazy is when you start thinking about different ways that you can cook it. So the normal instructions come with just boil water, right? We just want people to know. A lot of people are really afraid to experiment with an ingredient that they've never used before. What we like to say is if you can boil water, you can make our grits. And so you boil water, you add the grits, you follow the instructions for the cooking, but it's going to take about 12 minutes. However, you don't have to use water, and that's where it gets fun. So we can use bone broth, which will just further the nutrient density of the product or the food that we're finishing with, or the recipe that we're working with. But we have recipes where we infuse the grits in things like herbal teas and floral teas. We can cook them in one of our favorite recipes is actually becomes the base of a sushi bowl. And so we cook it in either jasmine tea or green tea and then add in pickled ginger. And so the grits carry flavors of other things really, really well. And when you start thinking about what you can cook them in, and people have gotten pretty creative with some of the things they've come up with, that's where it kind of takes on just kind of it's almost like an artistic nature to the things that are being created.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get some of your product and try. So, at the farmer's market, when I'm selling my sauces that I make, one of the things that I always suggest is that people, if they're cooking some kind of grain, they just put a tablespoon in the water to cook it. And then it's not too spicy for the whole family to eat, things like that. But what the things that I'm mentioning usually are like barley. I use a lot of pearl barley at home, but it does take so long for people to cook and they don't really want to. Like when I say, oh, I do it in barley bowls, they're like, I never cook barley. I'm like, okay, well, now I have a new option to tell people.
Perfect.
It'll be much quicker and easier, but that's such a great idea. I love hearing about the creativity of it too, because I wouldn't have really thought about doing kind of a sushi application with tea, but that's so smart and that sounds so great. It made me hungry. I'm very close to dinner time, so
Oh, very good. Well, one of the, we knew we were going to need to come up with a creative word that foodies were going to connect with to kind of bring this idea forward in the bright, fun way that it was supposed to. So we have a word, and that word is grit together.
Oh, I love it.
And yeah, so grit together it's basically like you can think of it as simple as like homeschool potluck, but healthier, more nutritious, way more fun. And it's very collaborative. A grit together can be extremely collaborative, especially if you're joining your ingredient with farmer friends or other foodie friends that are growing something. And so on our website, and we've got some ideas on there right now. We're actually redesigning some aspects of our website. This is going to be one of them that's getting a bit of a makeover, to make it even more conceptualized. But think of it, one way to think about a grit together as a collective, like a friend or family gathering, is think of it kind of like a grain bowl experience, but with a theme. And so we've mentioned the sushi bowl idea a little bit ago. So we've done that a number of times because everybody loves it. So what that looks like when we do it with our family or our friends is I will make a big pot of grits cooked in jasmine or green tea. And then I'll stir in some pickled ginger juice and some chopped pickled ginger. And then I'll chill the grits. I make it ahead and then I just chill it so it's cold like it should be for sushi. And then we invite a collective group of people and everybody brings one thing. And when they show up, we've basically got a sushi bowl bar that's put together, but that's how we grit together. And so we might have mangoes, cucumbers, some type of tempura shrimp, avocado, maybe some raw fish or smoked trout. There's always some sauces. Sauces are essential for a good grit together. So we'll have like a sriracha mayo. Somebody will bring tamari and sesame oil. One person showed up with just like sesame seeds. But by the time it's all spread out, you can pretty much build the bowl the way that you like it. And we do that same theme concept for many different palettes. So we've got an Italian one, we've got a Mediterranean version of one, there's a Southwest, there's a Creole one, anyway, to name a few, and there's more on the way. So
well, it sounds like everyone should have their own grit together. I think it sounds really fun, and it's kind of like a modern version of like we've done things like that at the farmers market where they've called it like stone soup, where everybody brings something to put into it. But seems like a newer, funner version of that.
yeah, it's the same concept though, right? Everybody's bringing something. The funnest part is people are always shocked when they have their children come to these things. You know, so many people think that kids are so fussy. I think that they're really not. I think mostly they just haven't been given the opportunity to actually eat grown-up food in a lot of cases, you know. If I could do away with something in America on menus, it would be the kids menu. I just wouldn't even have one. I would just have smaller portions available of whatever it is the adults are eating, because it's usually far healthier for one, and kids enjoy good food. I mean, why wouldn't they? And so that's been really fun to have people bring children to these things. And you know that what really makes the difference is you're handing the kid the bowl, right? And you're just letting them go through the line like everybody else, and they get to pick and choose. And they're going through watching what everyone else is doing, and they've got a friend that maybe is willing to try something that they hadn't thought of. And anyway, their bowls end up full of things that their parents would never often think that they would eat. And then they have this really cool foodie experience. And so that's been a fun way to do it. But we also do it for breakfast. It's a really cool way to do like a porridge bowl. So a variety of fruits and nuts and nut milks and creams and cinnamon and cardamom and I mean all kinds of different things, and just let people kind of come through and build their own breakfast bowl is another really easy, fun way to do it.
That's so nice. And you brought up family. So, we always like to ask people who are a family-run business how you balance family life and work life, and if your family's involved in the business at all.
Well, you know what? If I'm really honest, what I'm going to say is that's been the hardest part of
Mm-hmm.
doing this. Because our family is fantastic, but I think it would have taken shape a little bit more naturally had we not purchased Cream of the West. But the day we signed the papers on that business, we're now business owners, and suddenly, like, we just have to figure out all the things, and it's
Mm-hmm.
3.5 hours away. And so, getting that balance this past year and a half has been really, really hard
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much to think about with two companies, essentially, two separate marketing and brand voices, two separate markets in some ways, just all the things. There's always something to be doing and thinking about. So I feel like we're just kind of hoping to enter into this year for the first time since we started with a little bit better footing. But that being said, our kids are super supportive. They oftentimes travel, especially I think at this point, at least 4 out of 6 of them, if not 5 of them, have been to the plant to help us do a boxing day or to do something when extra help is needed. If not, it's there's also a lot of traveling for Gruff.
Mm-hmm.
We've been to the larger food shows, to Expo East and Expo West. We won a Nexty Award in Philadelphia last year, which was my 5-year goal, and we won it like 6 months in. So
Yay!
that was just an thank
Congratulations.
you. It's very humbling, and it was a very it was very, very humbling. I'll just say that it was a blessing, and it was humbling to know that we were being recognized for the reasons that are most important to us, which is bringing something nutrient rich to the marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
and just simple and honest. And so anyway, we got to take 2 of our daughters with us to do that, but that means somebody has to be home running the ranch. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really kind of been a juggling act for our entire family to follow. Um, but they're all learning different things. And I've been working most recent with a really cool concept for Cream of the West. And I'm hoping to have an application for Gruff for it as well, with my daughter-in-law. So we're kind of keeping that one under wraps for a few more minutes
Mm-hmm.
because it's really freaking innovative and super fun. But she just called one day with this kind of an idea, and I kind of merged it with this different idea I was having. It's like, oh my gosh, if we can bring these 2 things together, this is also going to be the first time this has been done. So we're really excited about potential possibilities with that. So yeah, I wouldn't say that we've got great balance, but we've got a lot of willing people that are excited about what we're doing, and they're all working collectively to help
Mm-hmm.
us make it happen. Our oldest is 28, and he's married and has 2 kids. And then our second son is married as well with 2 little kids. So we've also got grandbabies now in this mix that we're definitely not wanting to miss out on time with them.
Mm-hmm.
So they've become our biggest porridge tasters. They eat a lot of hot cereal here, and we always know how to tweak what we're doing based upon whether they're liking it or not. Sarah has been helping us with some new blends for Cream of the West, and so as she's sent in samples, we've had our grandkids over, and they've been doing the tastings and things like that. So
Very cool. I love that the whole
yeah.
family is involved in some way. And I also appreciate your honesty because I think that it is hard. I'm in a family food business as well. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges is finding a good balance and not missing out on your life and your family. Because I think that's like why a lot of us get into this kind of business is we care about the people we love. We want to provide something really great and healthy for them. And so we do this thing. And then sometimes that takes us away from our family, which is the whole reason that we did this in the first place. And so I think
Exactly.
I think it's just always good to talk about it and remind ourselves that we care about our families and we need to be there for them, and we will definitely do that. But it's hard. It's also hard to do because you don't want to let anybody down, even the people in your company and especially the people in your family. So totally get it. I feel right there with you, but I also think that it is possible, but we just always have to remind ourselves to keep working on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for the little mini therapy session, because I just hold that, um and it's good to know. Yeah, because sometimes you feel a little bit alone in in this thing that you thought you needed to do, but we do know why we started it, and it's essential to keep that why up front. So
Well, I think you're doing great things in Montana, and I'm excited to see the things that happen in the future. We always love to direct people to you to purchase products from you directly. So, where can they do that?
well, right now, the fastest, easiest way, if you're out of Montana, if you're out of state, is going to be just from our websites, most likely. Cream of the West has a little bit broader reach in the states surrounding Montana, in some Rosars. We've got both companies in town, in some town and countries. Much easier to find us both in Montana. So all the health food stores in Montana, as well as the universities, pretty much have both companies available. And we are having conversations with people from Sprouts. We were recently contacted by someone from Whole Foods about with Gruff Grains. And so we'll have hopefully some broader national reaches with Gruff, if not with both companies, because we're hoping to have, simultaneous conversations. But anyway, for now, the website is a sure hit, and we get it shipped right out to you.
Well, that's so great. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today and to help tell your story. And we'd like to, of course, encourage people to order from Gruff Grains and also reach out if you want to connect with Crystal and her company, or if you have grain questions. We always love for people to build new loving food networks with each other. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And we want to thank our listeners for listening to the show. We love our food community and want to connect with you in person and online. If you want to reach out to Sarah and I via our Instagram, Meaningful Marketplace Podcast, we can answer any questions and connect with you guys. We record Meaningful Marketplace live every week. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, and now on YouTube. We want to thank our Joy of Creation production house team. Thank you for helping us tell the stories of food entrepreneurs. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can send us an email, booking@joyofcreation.com, and we will be back next week, everybody. Thanks for joining.